7.5 years of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton's policies have weakened America's place in the world and stifled our nation's economy. Terrorist attacks at home and abroad, the grim and heartbreaking scenes from France just a few short days ago, the attempted coup in Turkey all attest to a world spinning apart. History teaches us that weakness arouses evil. Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama's foreign policy of leading from behind, moving red lines, feigning resets with a resurgent Russia and the rise of ISIS is a testament to this truth of history, and we must bring a change to America's stand in the world. Let's come together as a party and a people and a movement to make America great again, and that day begins when Donald Trump becomes the 45th President of the United States of America. Thank you for the honor. Thank you for your support, and God bless the United States of America.
And there you have it, a speech that lasted less than an hour, about 40 minutes or so. And Donald Trump took his time, mentioning Mike Pence several times. He called him solid person, called him strong, said that he was a leader. The difference that we noticed, and we were talking amongst ourselves and noticed on social media, was that the speech felt a little bit disjointed. Trump would mention, I'm going to go back to Mike Pence, and then he went off on a tangent about NAFTA and Bill Clinton, and then it was sort of a patchwork, or
felt like a ping pong match.
Right, or he hopscotched or lily padded his way through it, however you want to call it. But nonetheless, the message was to say that Mike Pence is his guy and was his first choice.
And you mentioned less than an hour.
The most interesting thing I heard was when Mike Pence said he got the call on Wednesday.
Well, we were talking amongst ourselves, and he said, I got the call Wednesday, but he didn't say from whom. So I don't know if it was Trump campaign or if it was I got the call from Trump just to go to dinner, or was it the VP invite? That's what's
He indicated it was the VP invite.
I think you're right.
Which would explain why on Thursday morning he avoided reporters, because he'd been saying all week nothing's been offered, nothing's been accepted, and he couldn't say that on Thursday morning if it wasn't true.
Billed as a vice presidential candidate choice announcement today turned much into a campaign speech, and not really a surprise there. And you break down the less than an hour event total. Donald Trump on the stage for 27 minutes, Mike Pence for 10.
Not a surprise. Donald Trump also didn't remain on the stage while Mike Pence was speaking, which is interesting. Donald Trump doesn't share the stage, is what we've learned. But he did return, and they have the families up there together, and now, of course, out working the crowd. Very interesting as a science project here, I think, with that Donald Trump speech that was more about Hillary Clinton. And when he did talk about Mike Pence, he was reading it. And it's all the same points that Mike Pence has made in his stock campaign speech in his reelection for governor. There was nothing really new or different there. I mean, if you're looking for something original from Trump, he said about Mike Pence, he looks very good.
Yeah,
that was he liked what Indiana was doing. He started to mention Indiana's low unemployment rate, and then he sort of dovetailed into this idea that he looks good too, and that sort of helps, and talked about his family and as he's a family guy, and Indiana's doing so well. For the large portion of the speech, it almost felt like he was bragging on Indiana more than he was bragging on Mike Pence.
He also, I guess, he made a big deal out of the endorsement that Mike Pence made of Ted Cruz prior to our May primary, and how it was a lukewarm endorsement that included a lot of praise for him. He called it the single greatest non-endorsement I've ever had in my life.
Wow. Well, let's go. Our Nick Notario, who's been inside the Midtown Manhattan Hilton covering this event in New York City. Let's go to Nick with some of the post game here.
I'm guessing Nick has trouble hearing in there.
Well, yeah, they've got loud music going on, and I'm not sure if he can hear us or not, but obviously there's a lot of handshaking going on. Trump and Pence, you can see a gentleman right there trying to take a selfie with Trump. So this is sort of your normal reaction anytime a campaign speech is given, that you have this sort of glad handing going on with folks, and sort of a meet and greet atmosphere that goes on. We're going to get to Nick in a little bit. We seem to have lost him just for temporarily. But let's get back into the speech. Jim, you were talking about what the news was out of it. The biggest news event that came out of that speech was that Pence said he got the call Wednesday night. Beyond that, they sort of just bragged on each other.
Well, no, Donald Trump did spell out what we expected, that he was picked because he thinks that he will be a unifying force in the Republican Party. And you heard Donald Trump use the term evangelical several times. Clearly, he's concerned about his ability to attract the evangelical vote, and he expects that Mike Pence will help him with that. And he made that very clear.
Okay, let's get another perspective here from the environment inside the room now after the fact. Let's go back out and hear from our Nick Notario, who is live at the Hilton Hotel. Nick?
Yeah, well, a little bit different scene than just a few moments ago. You got Donald Trump making his way through the crowd, taking photos, shaking hands, meeting the people here who were just applauding him. And now he spoke for about 25 minutes, and at times going back and forth, a little bit off topic. He did use some notes. However, Mike Pence, who spoke for about 12 to 13 minutes, seemed to be more focused, on point, and when he really hit points, especially when he went after Hillary Clinton, the crowd here just erupted, especially at the end when he talked about this is all about making America great again. Now, as he's making his way through the crowd there, Mike Pence is just a little bit to his left. He's also, just like Donald Trump was doing, taking selfies, meeting people. Really, this was his big introduction. As we spoke to New Yorkers yesterday, people knew him as the governor of Indiana, and that's about it. And, you know, it was funny to hear as Mike Pence was talking about his accomplishments in Indiana and what they were able to do and bring it to the national platform. Some of these the Hoosiers that are here, including State Representative Tom Saunders, you could hear them break out into clap and cheer. I'm sure that they were ecstatic to hear the accomplishments that have been going on in the Hoosier state. But everyone is circled around Donald Trump as he's making his way, looks like, to the exit over there. And Mike Pence, with Karen Pence, just tailing a little bit to their left there. Not quite sure if there's going to be any availability at all with Governor Pence before he heads off back to Indiana. But right now he's just shaking hands and taking photos with people. So we're going to try and catch up with Representative Saunders to get what he thought in here. But you know, I'll tell you, people were listening to Governor Pence as he was speaking, and it was interesting to know as Donald Trump was listing why he chose Governor Pence. It was all about his economic reasons. There wasn't anything social. So there was no discussion about RFRA or LGBT or pro-life whatsoever. It was very much all about jobs and economic growth that the Hoosier state has experienced. So that was something that I definitely noticed. And the two are now standing together there in the back corner, kind of talking to people, taking some photos there against a blue backdrop, similar to what they were just doing on stage. And they were only on stage briefly. You know, they didn't come out ahead of time and do a photo op. And you know, Donald Trump introduced them, quickly walked off stage. And then when Mike Pence finished speaking, Donald and his family came out for some photos. But there they are again, taking photos against the blue-black backdrop. I see Donald Trump, Mike Pence. I see Eric Trump, his son, Karen Pence, of course, over there. And there they go. They're making their way off stage. So they were up there for about 30, 35 minutes. Trump talking for a longer time. But, I mean, the big thing he says, he wants to bring jobs to this country, and that is why he picked Mike Pence. Back to you guys.
All right, Nick, thanks so much. As Nick mentioned, a large portion of it talked about Indiana's ability to have a low unemployment rate, to be a job creator, to attract business to come to the state. But it seemed like in their speech, they mentioned a lot of recent events, the Turkish coup, the attacks in Nice, France. They used those recent news events to sort of point that there is unrest in this world and that there is a need for change because of this unrest, and that they pointed to Hillary Clinton for leading, or Trump's point was Hillary Clinton led Obama down this dark path, and that is what has led basically to the unrest that we currently have. So that is basically the narrative they're trying to hammer home today.
Couple of takeaways. Donald Trump did not share the stage. He did not share the limelight. This campaign remains all about Donald Trump. And we should point out that there is a new campaign logo that came out during the speech
You see it in the top left corner there. It no longer includes
there's no
the T and P
flag that
together.
had been lampooned so much.
Yeah. And the other takeaway,